Welcome back to the Insider's Guide to Custom Homes, where we pull back the curtain on what really goes into building a true custom home. I'm your host, Rick Bell, builder of dreams and roads less traveled. Today, we're talking about a topic that comes up over and over again, especially on larger and more complex homes, and that is self-performed work. You may have heard that phrase before and thought things like less competition, hidden profit, reduced transparency. And sometimes owners worry that if the builder is going to do the work themselves, something about the process must be working against them. Here's the reality. Self-performing is simply a tool. It is not good or bad by nature. It's all about how, when, and why it is used. And when it is done properly and transparently, it can actually reduce risk, improve schedule, improve coordination, and yes, sometimes lower cost. So today, I want to walk you through what self-performed work really means, how it is priced and managed, when it makes sense, and when it absolutely does not. There is no one-size-fits-all here. Not every contractor should self-perform work, and not every project benefits by it. But when it's done right, it can be a tremendous advantage for the owner and the project. What does self-performed work really mean? Self-performed work simply means that the general contractor is using their own team and their own labor to perform certain trades on the job. So instead of hiring an outside contractor, the contractor simply becomes the employer, the trade contractor, and the fully responsible party for that scope of work. It does not mean cutting corners. It does not mean bypassing inspections. It does not mean hidden profit. And it definitely does not mean free labor. It's just a different way of delivering the same work. The real question is whether it is done professionally, transparently, and appropriately. So what work is typically self-performed? The most common area where contractors self-perform work is the shell of the home. This includes things like concrete, masonry, and structural framing. This makes sense because the shell lives right on the critical path of the job. It carries heavy coordination, structural responsibility, inspections, and strict sequencing. If the shell phase gets delayed, everything is delayed. Nothing else can start. I've done shell work in houses for years, and one of the biggest advantages is flexibility. If weather hits, or a material shows up late, or something needs to be resequenced, we can adjust immediately without renegotiating or losing time. This protects the schedule and ultimately protects the owner. Framing and drywall are also commonly self-performed because they are labor-intensive and schedule-sensitive. When framing or drywall work needs a correction or adjustment, it can be handled faster with less debate and fewer change order disputes. Quality and consistency can be easier to control with an in-house team. Painting, stucco, and site work in certain regions and market conditions can also be self-performed. The key here is whether the contractor has the volume and the ability to retain skilled labor long-term. If the labor pool becomes unstable, self-performing can become risky instead of helpful. Trades that are usually not self-performed include highly specialized areas, such as elevators, advanced automation, high-end mechanical, or specialty glass. Many of these require manufacturer certification or very deep technical knowledge. A good contractor knows restraint here. Self-performing should be strategic, not opportunistic. So how is self-performed work priced? There are two primary models, cost plus and competitive bid. Under a cost plus model, everything is open book. Labor is tracked by time and task. Materials and equipment are billed transparently. The same supporting documents are provided as if an outside subcontractor were performing the work. Owners should expect visibility, auditability, and fairness. Nothing hidden, no mystery. In the competitive bid approach, the contractor and internal team may bid against outside subcontractors. This sounds good on paper, but in reality, it can get tricky. Subcontractors often do not like bidding against a general contractor, and eventually they stop showing up with pricing. So while internal pricing can stabilize costs in volatile markets, lowest price is not always the best value, and a good contractor will acknowledge that. In self-performing work, what fees apply and why? There's always a cost plus fee that covers labor, material, supervision, administration, insurance, vehicles, tools, and overhead. And yes, there is also a profit component. But this is not double billing. In fact, most subcontractors charge a higher markup because they're carrying more risk and more overhead. When we self-perform on a cost-plus basis, the fee is typically lower because the risk profile is different and because overhead is shared across the entire company. So the key point is this: the fee reflects the risk and the resources being allocated. Lower risk generally equals lower fee. What are the benefits to the owner? Self-performing work allows faster mobilization and easier resequencing. There's less downtime between phases. There's often reduced markup stacking. Change orders can be handled more transparently, and the overall cost can be lower. There are other advantages. With direct supervision and long-term continuity, corrections happen faster and standards stay consistent. Whether the work is fixed fee or cost plus, the general contractor remains the single point of accountability. There is no finger pointing between subs and the general contractor. The GC owns it. So when should a contractor not self-perform? There are absolutely times when self-performing is the wrong move. If the contractor lacks bandwidth, if the labor market is unstable, if the scope requires very niche expertise, or if transparency cannot be maintained. A good contractor knows when to step back and bring in a specialist. What happens when things do not go as planned? Responsibility does not change. The same warranties apply, the same correction and obligations apply, and change orders should be handled the same way as any other trade. Documented, approved, and transparent. Under Cost Plus, overruns are visible in real time. Bad weather, labor issues, or price escalations do not get buried. The owner and builder work through it together. What should the owners remember? Self-performed work is simply a tool. When used properly, it can reduce risk, improve schedule, and elevate quality. The key is transparency, experience, and appropriate application. So when you talk to your contractor, ask clear questions like, what do you self-perform? Why do you self-perform those trades? How is the work priced? And how do I know the process is transparent? Better questions lead to better outcomes. If you found this podcast helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And share this with someone who's thinking about building a custom home. I'm Rick Bell, and let's build your custom home the Landmark way. Stay tuned and enjoy the journey.